Hey, this is Chris and James with Old Liberty Sheds and Structures. We're going to get ready to start part 2 of this video. We're going to frame walls and do window holes and jack studs and headers, all that other good stuff. Top plates. So that's going to be this video where we kind of walk through it. If you didn't get a chance to see how we built the floor, check out part 1. This is going to be part 2. We are going to, again, this is a 6x8 shed. We want 7.5 foot tall walls, right? 7 foot 6 inch tall walls. So we build, everything we do is 16 inch on center, unless it's like a chicken coop or something small. But everything we do is 16 inch on center. And we do California corners on our sheds. We do a bottom plate and a double top plate. And we also make sure our end walls plate over the side walls when we do our plates, just like you're building a house. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our studs at 85.5 inches. So the 4.5 inches give us what? 89 inches. That is 7 foot 6. That's 7 foot 5. Sorry, 7 foot 5 inches. Nope, that's not right. 90 inches. My math's a little off. So 90 inches. So 85.5 and 4.5 makes 90, which is 7 foot 6 inches. So James is going to go ahead and start cutting all those studs. We're also going to lay out the bottom plate or exactly where they're going to be at by popping string lines. We had to rip the subfloor over here on these ends. So we're naturally going to use this side for our door because there's going to be a door on the end. I like using the factory edge for the door, even though we're going to put a threshold protector on it. So keep watching. We're going to show you guys how to build walls on a shed and properly frame. So make sure you like and subscribe to this channel so we can keep helping you on how to build sheds. That's what we specialize in, is sheds and outdoor structures. All right, so we're going to frame these walls, and what we're going to do first is we got our clean floor ready. We are going to lay out a chalk line so we know where to line our walls up. So this is going to have 3/8 inch LP sheathing on the outside of our 2x4 framed wall. 2x4s are 3.5 inches wide, so we're using 2x4s for our bottom plates. But we're going to let the LP Smartside lap over the rim joist 2 inches, just to give a little bit of covering there. So when we line our walls up, unlike when you're building a house and you're using regular OSB sheathing and a type of siding down the road like a vinyl siding, whatever, you don't want to lay your lines off 4 inches if you're using a 2x4 and 1/2 inch sheathing. But we're using 2x4s and 3/8 siding. The siding is actually going to cover over the end. So we want to come back 3.5 inches from the edge of our OSB over, pop a line around all 4 sides so we know where to line our walls up with. And we're going to do that now. So James is going to grab his speed square, or make sure he's like got a little bit of a lift. So just use the OSB. He's going to use the OSB here. He's going to mark in 3.5 inches on both sides there. Yep. Going to make his marks. He's going to do that all the way around the building. Speed things up. I'm going to help him out. So we're coming 3.5 inches in, making a mark. From that side, 3.5 inches in from the edge to this side. And then we're going to pull a string line. And this is so we can line our plates up when we stand our wall in here. Okay, go backward. So that is what it looks like. So now we have these reference lines where exactly we want the inside edge of our plate of the wall to be, the bottom plate. So when we start framing our walls and standing our walls up, we have a line, and it's easy just to line it up at that point. So our next step is we're going to want to take a measurement. James is going to do it over here. We're going to build this wall. We actually already built another wall that's laying over there right now. James is going to take this measurement for his overall bottom plate and top plate measurements.
95 and 3/8.
95 and 3/8. So he's going to cut 2 of those at 95 and 3/8. All right, so James has the bottom plates cut. He's going to lay out our stud locations. So he's pulling 16-inch center from that end, and he's going to mark one of them, and he'll transfer the marks to the other. But we have windows going in this wall, and these windows, the rough opening is what, James?
24 inches.
24 wide, 36 inches tall, right? So what he needs to do, and these walls and these windows are going to be centered in the wall. So he's laying out 16-inch on center, and then he's going to find out what the middle or the center or the middle of 95 and 3/8 is. It's 47 and 11/16, right?
Yep.
So 47 and 11/16 is the direct center of that wall, and he wants a 24-inch wide rough opening. So he'll pull 12 inches from that center mark on both ends, and that is where the inside of that stud is going to go, stud placement for the window frame. Now, if you're building a house, obviously you're going to do jack studs and big headers for a house, but this is a shed, so we're not doing jack studs on the windows. We are going to put a header over it, but it's only a 24-inch window, and it's really kind of overkill for a shed. Again, not a house. So now he's marking his locations. He'll finish that up, and we'll start laying our studs out and nailing them into place. Notice how when he's marking the one, he's got the other plate laying right next to it. So he's then able to take his speed square and transfer the mark across both of them. And he's going to mark the window section with a C, so we know that's a cripple and not a stud. A cripple is actually, it's like a small stud that goes under headers or above headers. So we call those cripples. The reason why we put a C there is that way we don't put a stud. We don't nail a stud in, because we're going to nail our studs in before we go ahead and frame our window hole. It's also important that you remember what wall you're framing, so you remember which plate is your top and which is your bottom. So this is our top, that's our bottom over here. James is going to start laying the studs in. Now, this is a 7-foot 6-inch wall, and the shed is only 6 feet wide. So we are going to frame on top of here, but we're going to have to shift the wall a couple times because the studs are actually, the wall is actually taller than the shed is wide. That's why that wall is sitting over there, because we couldn't, on bigger sheds, we can frame a wall, stand it, frame another wall, stand it, but not on this shed, it's just too narrow. We'll be able to do that with the end walls, but not the side walls. So he's laying the studs where the locations are marked, and we're gonna nail it in, and I'm gonna go help him to speed this up, because time is money. Right, James?
That's right.
All right, so we do California corners in our shed. The California corner is basically, instead of it being a traditional corner where it's two 2x4s sandwiching some block scraps of 2x4s, California corner is kind of more of an L shape. The reason why it's called California corner is because it started, I guess, in California, because it allows you to get insulation tucked into the corner of the wall, and so it met insulation standards. And so most of your crazy insulation standards and housing stuff usually starts in California. So I guess that's how it got its name. So basically I'm just throwing a 2x4 on top of the other one, nailing it down to the one below, and we want to be flush along this line. The reason why I like to use corners and sheds is because, to me, it helps keep the wall stiffer and truer, and also when we're putting our sheathing down, it reduces the amount of bow we have on that end stud, so it helps us just keep the wall even squarer. And that California corner is just going to nail. This goes down to the inside. So the flat part goes to the inside, not the outside. That way you can tuck your insulation under. All right, so James, we got all of our studs nailed in. James is going to measure up from the floor, which is the bottom of the plate. So he wants to be the floor height. He's going to measure up 76 inches because that's going to be the bottom of the top header above the window. And then he's going to measure down to 30 to 40, so a 36-inch opening. So from 76 to 40, and that's going to be the top of the sill. So the window is going to be 40 inches off the ground and 40 inches to the bottom and 7 foot 6 inches to the top. Or not 7, I'm sorry. What did I say? 76 inches, 6 foot 4. Sorry. So 40 inches up to the top of the plate from the floor, and then 76 inches up to the bottom of the header to the floor. So windowsill header. Hope I confused everybody. That's what I'm here for. So, all right, now while James is laying out the window hole, I'm going to mark where our top plate's going to go. We're going to pre-install the top plate. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going to come in 3 inches and 9/16 over, and I'm going to make a mark, and I'm going to go down the other side. I'm going to put my speed square on there, make me a line. I'm going to do the same thing down here. 3 and 9/16. Make me a mark. Put an X. I'm going to bring it over, make it easier to measure one person. And then I'm going to measure from that mark to this mark, and that's going to be my top plate. But what I'm doing is I'm leaving this gap open, so when we lay our end walls up, and we'll lay that top plate will overlap onto this wall, tying it all together. Okay? So, hey, James, hold me on that mark. Yep. Put that mark, I think it's like 88 and something. 88 and 1/8. And while he's cutting that, I'm going to find my cripple location. We pulled our 16s from here. So my cripple above the window is going to be there, and my cripple is going to be 9.5 inches. And then cripple here. 9.5 for this one, for that one. Yep. And then this one, 36 and 15/16. Okay. Is that what your other one was? Close?
I think it was 37.
Yeah.
Same difference.
So now I'm going to pull this top plate right to that line, and I'm going to nail. Now what I like to do is nail these nails into where the stud location is below it. And the reason why that is when we build structures that have electric ran and people want to run power through the plates, this avoids anybody running a drill bit, an expensive wood boring bit or a paddle bit through nails to try to get holes through the plates for plumbing or wiring. This just keeps it out of the way. Good rule of thumb, if you get into building a lot, just have standards that you stick to. That way they're always going to happen. Right, James? That's right. All right, so it's very important to change out your nails when you're getting ready to do your LP Smartside. We're going to use the 2 3/8 nails as well that are ring shanked for the Smartside. Also, don't forget to adjust your air pressure from framing. We usually frame around 120 psi, but you want to do your Smartside anywhere between 190 psi. That way you're not blowing the nails right through it. And what we usually do is we'll lay it down first, and then we'll do a couple test nails on the corners because we know that's going to get covered up with trim anyway, but that helps us make sure we have the right depth that our nails are going in, so when we're painting we don't have a bunch of really ugly nail holes that we have to caulk up. So we're gonna go 2 inches. We're gonna measure. Move the camera.
Yeah, I'll work the top.
Yep. So this is the top. This is the top of the wall. We have an overhang. We're gonna rip that off. But first, what we want to do, make sure we're good here. We want a 2-inch overhang. So we want this to overlap the bottom 2 inches. So I'm just going to come down 2 inches, put a pencil mark. I'm going to come over here and do 2 inches also. And the reason why we're kind of doing this is to stay standard, but normally on a bigger wall, and we're doing our sheathing, we'll square our wall up. We'll nail it along the blue line at the bottom with the 2 3/8, and then we'll square the wall, and then we'll nail the top plate to the floor with a toenail to keep the wall square. But we really can't do that on here because the wall is way much bigger than the floor. So what we're gonna use the sheathing to help us square the wall. So now that we know what our overhang is gonna be at, we can start at one corner just like the subfloor, and we're gonna hold that mark on the edge when it cooperates. Yeah. All right, so we wanna, and I'm gonna put my speed square down, make sure it lines up with my plate. It does. A little off, there we go. And we're gonna bring, you need to bring that way. And we're gonna bring this to the edge here. That's where that California corner is now keeping this 2x4 straight. It's not bowing because now it has a backbone to it. And I'm gonna line up this mark to be straight down there, and I'm gonna put a nail here. That pressure. I'm gonna let James, hold on, James.
Huh?
Let's pull this a little bit. Actually, let's get this. Yeah. We're gonna line up this line here, that 2-inch mark. So it's with the bottom plate down here. And I'm gonna nail that. And make sure you stay up high enough where you're in this bottom plate. I like nailing in the groove. Now, we know that we're straight here. Now we can pull this line straight with this sheathing, and that's gonna square up our wall. James, come my way a little bit more. All right. Now, pull it back that way. All right, that was a little too much. Now our lines are true. Our air pressure looks good. Might be come off a little bit. Yeah, a little less pressure. You kind of want your nails almost a little bit below surface, a little below flush with the surface. So the nice thing about using this LP also is these lines, if you get everything right, this is flush. This is going to line right up with the stud. That's 16-inch on center, the extra line. Come on, get in there. All right, so we're going to go ahead and nail this down. Also, with this LP, there's a tongue and groove, right? Or an overlap. So this is the underlap. Down here is the overlap. You can see that little indentation. We always start laying from overlap to underlap, so the next one laps over. If you start, like James just said, if you start with the overlap flush, you will be 16 off center, but if you start with the underlap flush, you may be off a little bit. All right, so you're good, keep going. We got all the sheathing laid on this wall. We measured what our overlap is, our gap between the stud to the sheathing, and pop the chalk line. James is gonna trim that off. And he's doing the same thing down here. We wanted to get this line ripped from the sheathing or the siding to the top plate, so we measure what that was. It was like 3 7/8. Measure down 3 7/8 and pop the chalk line. He's gonna cut down that end. All right, now that we have all the sheathing on, we're going to stand this wall up and nail it into place. But what we're going to do is we're going to get some bracing in place first. That way when we stand the wall up, it's easy for us to brace it into place. Hence the braces.
Brace it into place.
Into place. All right, so we got our braces in place. And we're going to stand this wall up and we're going to shoot. You got the nails ready?
That's good.
All right, here we go. Pop a nail in the plate. Walk down, walk your line down. Looks good. Now, look at your line down there. Pull that in there. We're going to put screws or nails at each stud location so that they're going into the floor joist below. And what's wrong? Turn our air pressure up. Don't forget to do that. Air pressure. So when you line your studs up with your floor joist, if you pull your walls from the same location as the floor joist, when you nail through the stud bottom, you're going to nail right into the floor joist below, which is nice and strong. All right, we're going to use this bracing to form up the wall. James is going to get it where he needs it to be. Right, tell me when. Good. Wait. Don't do this out of one. Good. Alright. That wall ain't going nowhere. Now we're going to bring the other wall over and stand.
I like building them in place, sir.
Ready, slide my way. Should be where we want it.
Yeah, hold it up.
Yep.
For now. Until the first gust of wind.
Pull it in. See the line? That's why we have lines there, buddy. Come on, yeah. Ready. Ready. Right there. Sweet, sweet.
Cool.
Alrighty. You're bleeding, not me. Alright, both walls up. Now we're going to start on the end walls. Now James is going to measure from the edge of that wall to the edge of that wall. That's going to be his bottom plate and his top plate. Okay, and we're going to start on that back wall. That back wall is not getting any windows, not getting any doors, nothing. It's just going to be a straight wall that we are going to put LP Smartside on, and then this side is going to be the door side. We'll frame that side last. So this wall here will get studded, stood up, or framed, stood up, and then we'll put the sheathing in later. So a little bit inside framing here. This is what the California corners look like. And as you can see, now we have this gap where our plate is, and that's where the top plates on the side walls overlap and tie all the walls together. All right, so we're laying this stud out, or bottom plate for stud locations, but we want to pull 16 from the outside of our framing of our sidewall. That way we can start our sheathing from here, and it hits where our studs are going to be. Now the door wall is going to be a little different because we want to get a whole sheet centered on that wall, because the cutout for where the door opening is going to be is actually going to be the piece we use to build our door. But for this back wall, he's pulling from here. From here is where his 16 on center. Don't start the 16 on center from the inside of that wall, because then your sheathing, your LP is going to line up out here, but you're going to have a weird rip here. So why not just have the whole thing go right over the corner? It makes a stronger wall. All right, so we had a little break here because we had weather roll in, so we're back at it again. You saw the side walls framed up. James did the back wall, and I'll take you through that real quick, kind of show you kind of what that looked like. He already put the sheathing on it as well, and then I'll show you how the top plates tied in, but we're also going to frame this front wall where the door is going to be. So, but anyway, I'm going to just flip this around and show you. All right, so this is the back wall. This is why we do the corners here. So the corners, they nail together. So you have a place to nail in. He framed, so he laid his studs out from the 2x4 side of the sidewall and laid 16-inch on center that way. So that way when these 4-foot sheets tie into the corner on this back wall here, it lays out where he needs to be for his seam for his next piece of LP Smartside. There's your double top plate, and here is the plate up top here. See how this one overlaps this wall? That's why we leave a break in the sidewalls for the at the top plate. So when this back wall, the rear wall, gets framed, we can then put this top plate over, and it overlaps this side, holding all the walls together. Same thing over there. So right here is why he pulls from 16-inch on center here this way, so that way all his studs line up, so his seam right here at 16-inch on center, it's continuous. That way he doesn't have to do any rips or anything like that, because these LP sheets are 4 foot by 8 foot. So that way we can actually get this LP to actually go across the corner. It makes it stronger than putting in a rip here. If you would have started his 16-inch on center and pulled from the end of the plate instead of pulling from the 2x4 in the corner and going that direction. All right, so we're gonna start framing this front wall where the door is going. We're gonna be doing a 36-inch door, but the rough opening is actually gonna be 35 inches. But what we wanna do is we want that door to be centered. So I took a measurement from the outside of this sheathing, or the LP Smartside, to the outside of this LP Smartside, and I'm 72.25, right? So that means I'm going to measure from here to here the 36 1/8, and that's going to give me the center of my wall. And the reason why this is significant, because I want to put a 4x8 sheet of LP right smack dab in the middle of this wall. That way when we cut it out of our door framing, we're actually going to use that piece of LP to make our door, okay? So I need to find my center. If I want to be 35-inch rough opening, I'm going to go 17.5 inches over from that center and make a mark. That's going to be where my jack is going to be to hold my header up. And 1.5 inches off that for another line, then my king stud. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here, 17.5 inches over from the center, make a mark. That's going to be the edge, the rough opening edge of my jack on this side, and then my king stud. And then from there, the center, I want to mark everything at 16 inches on center every way from the left and right. That way my other LP pieces will line up where they need to be so we can nail in the groove. This one's kind of easy because it's so short that we're actually gonna, from there over, we're pretty much in the corner of our shed anyway. So the jacks are going to be 76 inches tall because we want to be 6'4". 76 inches tall is our jacks, and then when we start to do our cutout, we're going to put a filler 2x4 in under the header, and that's going to be part of our overlap system for the trim. And but the jacks are going to be 76 inches, and of course we're going to be overlapping the plate here as well. We did take the braces out because we don't need them right now. So James is going to cut his studs. We're going to have 85.5 inch studs. We're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4 85.5 inch studs, and then we're going to need just 2 76 inch jacks. And then I'm going to put the header together. So our header is actually going to be 38 inches long is what our header is going to be. So we're going to need 2 2x4s at 38 inches, and then we'll get a piece of 1/2 inch sheathing as well to make our header. All right, so we're going to make a header. We have 2 2x4s at 38, piece of OSB at 38. And what we're going to do is, and again, don't worry about if it's painted because we're going to have a cap on the bottom of it, so it'll never be seen. We're just using up scrap, so that's a good thing to hold on to scrap. But anyway, we're going to put this 2x4 and this piece right on top of each other. We're going to put this other 2x4 on top, and we want to make sure it's all lined up perfectly flush on each side, like so. And then we're going to nail through. Let's put one nail to start. Come down here and straighten all this other mess up down here. Make sure it's all flush. Gonna nail through. I like to go on an angle. I feel like they get better. More strength that way. There's your header. All right, we're gonna get, I'm not gonna get in there with you because it's kind of tight already. He's nailing the studs into the top plate. Small shed. I'll help him now. Put this plate here. Yay. King. King. All right, jack down, buddy. Get your jack in, y'all. All right. Header time. I'm going to lay this header in here, and then we'll take our cripple measurements. All right, our cripples are going to be 6. We're going to need, is that 3 right there? Yeah. Holy goodness. My gosh.
7 and 6?
Yeah. We're just blocking the heck out of that with cripples because of the way the 16 on center hits. it left us little gaps between the cripple and the other cripple, so we're just going to throw them all in at 6 inches. 6 inches. So I laid the header in, and I nailed in from the side there, and then went in sideways as well there. The other good thing is when you're nailing your jacks in, nail from the door jamb or the rough opening out. That way, on the other side, if you have any nails that poke through like that, they're not going to poke through from the door jamb side. So nail them from the door jamb in.
James is installing cripples.
James is installing the cripples now above the door. That piece of 4x8 LP on the front, just laid it on, nailed it down, and then we cut it out. I have a video on the channel that shows how we use screws and chalk line to kind of mark where the door location is and window location, so we can cut them out. Some people use they use routers with a router bit. I don't like that. Just bounds the router up too much, I think. We just like putting screws in from the corners and then coming out and marking it with a chalk line, just kind of wrapping the chalk line around the screw, popping the chalk line, and then you can have a line to cut your doors out. So James is going to now make his measurements on LP that we have, and he's going to make a piece for here to here, nail that in, piece from here to here, nail that in, and that'll be it for the walls. Obviously we have gables and a roof system to do, but we'll do that on another video where we'll show you how to measure for your roof trusses, how to cut the trusses, how we put our trusses together, and put the gable section up on the wall. This is actually going to be a tall roof line. This is actually going to be a 9/12 pitch, this little shed is, with 8-inch overhangs. So that's going to be a fun one. But that'll be video number 3. See ya. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check us out. See you, James. Say see ya.
Later.
See you guys.